Divorce is just about done. I look at myself now and often compare myself to who I was on my first D-Day in April 2021. I still remember the day vividly and how I felt. I had discovered a small bag I had never seen before and curiously thought, where did this come from? I opened it up and my world shattered. Inside was a collection of post-it notes AP had given to my wife at work. Have a good night, beautiful, will think of you all day. Hey, you look beautiful today. Good morning, beautiful. There were about 10 to 15 post-its in the bag, most with some variation of calling my wife beautiful. I stood in our kitchen breakfast nook holding the evidence of my wife's affair in my hands with a pounding in my chest from an overloaded heart that was beating wildly like a frenzied nightclub that had just been set ablaze. I remember the moment so vividly. Everything down to the texture of the notes and how they felt on my fingertips. It's all still fresh and distinct over 2 years afterwards. I remember my mind racing, desperately trying to make sense of what I was looking at, looking for some excuse to explain it all away. Maybe these are from a female coworker. Women sometimes talk like this to each other, right? I thought. It's sometimes tough for me to relive that defining and earth-shattering moment. Sometimes I think about it and find myself getting angry. But oddly enough, that day triggered a dramatic shift in my life. I'm still piecing things together and rebuilding, but I look at who I am today compared to who I was 2+ years ago and the two people are completely different from each other. I didn't like who I was then, but I like who I am now. I can't believe how far I've come. Every so often I receive a message from someone here asking for an update. The last time I posted any meaningful update was almost a year ago, which can be found in my post history. My divorce is almost finalized. Both me and my STBXW have signed all the necessary papers. The papers have been filed with the court and we are simply awaiting a judge to approve everything. The house has been officially sold as of last week. We are essentially finished. There's nothing more for us to do but wait for a judge to approve the divorce. The path getting to this point was quite tumultuous. My STBXW behaved like a screaming child that I had to drag through the whole process and force her to finally agree to the proposed stipulation of settlement agreement and to sell the house. But even as she began cooperating with the process, I would still receive those drunk texts begging me to go back to her, and when I refused she would turn to rage before eventually returning to the love bomb approach to win me back. Her mood would shift quite dramatically. In a span of 1 week, she went from texting me, "Fuck you. I'm better than you. I can't wait to be divorced from you," to later handwriting me a letter, taking a picture of that letter and texting it to me where she referred to me as a great man and the husband of her dreams. But I did not waver. I stood up to my abuser and told her I was not going to allow myself to be treated like this anymore. And it feels damn good to say I did that. There's a recurring thought I have had in this whole process. I often say to myself, behave in a way that you can be proud of in the future. I wanted to look back at this time and be able to say that I did the right thing, despite that being so very hard to do at times, and despite having every reason to be angry or frustrated. I think about who I want to be as a person on this earth, and I act and make decisions that align with that vision. I want to be someone that upholds integrity and respect for others regardless of their behavior, as destructive as it may be at times. This does not mean outright ignoring such behavior, but addressing it in a productive way and enforcing boundaries. My therapist quoted Hamlet to me once, and it stood out. It's a line I had heard before but never fully dissected it. To thine own self be true. Our response to hardship sets a foundation for who we eventually become as people later in life. My STBXW did a horrible thing, but I do not see her as a horrible person. As someone I shared many happy moments over many years with, I cannot type this with any hatred in my heart or wish ill will on her. I still love her, always will, and wish her all the happiness in the world. She has many struggles, and I hope she finds a way to overcome them. We left things very peacefully between us. After closing on the house we had lunch together and spoke candidly. We cried together, told each other we loved one another and wished the other well. For me it was such a beautiful way to say goodbye. I recall the moment in the parking lot when we hugged, crying as we held each other. I thanked her for being my wife and for giving me so many happy times before the affair. She apologized for her actions and for failing the marriage. We started walking away, holding on to each for as long as possible until the distance was too much and we had to let go. I know most that experienced betrayal would not have done that, but for me it was one of the most beautiful moments of my life. It was a perfect way to say goodbye to each other, with mutual respect, love, and overall on good terms. As for me, I have been quite busy since deciding to leave. I dropped about 50 pounds, although I put 10 back on since my doctor told me I was a tad too skinny. I had previously been a bit on the heavy side many years ago, so overall I've lost about 90 pounds. Unfortunately, I now have some excess skin on my belly that I'm looking into getting surgically removed. But I still exercise regularly. I recently ran my first race and have a 10K coming up later in the September. I joined a kickball league and made lots of new friends through the organization that runs it. We have become close and participate in trivia nights together here and there outside of kickball. I've increased my social circle and even made a close friend through this subreddit that I speak with every day, and it feels so great to be putting myself out there and enjoying new experiences. I have not started dating though, and I'm in no rush for that. I'm not sure when that will come, but I know it will at some point. Truthfully, I'm a bit frightened to start dating, but at the same time I'm kind of looking forward to it. For the moment though, I'm still rebuilding my life the way I want it, and I don't want anything to interfere with my goals. Overall, I'm very happy to report back that I am doing well, and it's because I've put in the hard work to try and be the best version of myself that I've ever been. There are still days where I struggle and feel angry or as though I am grieving, but they are becoming less frequent. If I had stayed, every day would be like that. Leaving was my only option to save myself from becoming a version of myself I never wanted to be. I do hope that this post resonates with those still struggling to move on. I'm always happy to speak with anyone and offer my encouraging insight for those now faced with navigating infidelity, so if you'd like to connect with me, please feel free to shoot me a DM. I will end this post here as it is already quite long, but one last thing. Thank you to everyone who had reached out to me last year or even recently to offer their own advice, or just to check in. This community is absolutely wonderful and served as a valuable resource for me during those dark days. Cheers to a better life.